Hey, what's going on, everybody? Manny here once again. Welcome to DFS Zone, your source for daily fantasy sport lineup advice for the NBA and the NFL. Got a brand new video for you guys today. Before I get started, like always, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you guys drop a like on the video. And if you're new to the channel, it's your first time here, never seen any of my NBA or NFL lineup advice videos, the only thing you have to do to be a part of the DFS Zone community here is basically subscribe down below. Make sure you put on that bell icon, turn that on. Put on those post notifications. This way you don't miss out on any of my NBA or NFL lineup advice videos. With that being said, today is Monday, November the 19th. We have a 9-game slate in the association, and we're going to get right to it. And before I get started, obviously, there will be a new link. I always post a new one with every new video for the NBA as far as the Slack group, the Slack chat. So if you don't have that, you want to be a part of that. We interact in there usually an hour and a half. Sometimes guys are doing it even throughout the games. I jump in there once in a while during the course of the games, and we discuss some of the plays and some of the duds and studs that have been going on during the course of the game and so on and so forth. And we share our point totals and so on. It's really, really a fun, nice place to hang out at. So if you want to be a part of that, there'll be a link down here in the description of the video that will automatically give you an opportunity to go in there. It's a complete invite and it's totally free. So why not? So join the Slack group, and this way you will be able to interact with us as well. And of course, that's an area where you can pick my brain a little bit, and as well as pick some of the other people's brains as far as plays for the day, budget plays, you name it. Okay. With that out of the way, let's get right to it, man. So at point guard today, we got Ben Simmons at the top, Kemba Walker, Kyrie Irving. Those are the top dogs up there. Obviously, the top ones are Simmons and Walker. I gave you guys Walker the other day, and we were just going back and forth. The guy's a beast. I told you guys in the last video, I like Walker simply. He takes a lot of shots. You're getting great value where the guy's taking tons of shots, is the main offensive threat for the team. This particular game, he is at home. He is great always at home. He had a massive game the other night. I think he's definitely in play. I just feel that today, Kyrie Irving, Boston, a little tougher matchup as far as defensively as far as defense is concerned. I am more in favor of actually seeing Kyrie Irving go in battle against Kemba Walker. I think these guys are both going to be really up for the task of wanting to battle against one another and see who's going to have the better game. And something tells me that Kyrie Irving, especially for his price tag, I'd rather take Kyrie Irving today. So I'm going to advise you guys, Kyrie Irving is definitely a play. The other thing about Kemba is that his price tag is getting up. He's $9,300 here today on Fanduel. On DK, he's about 10 grand. So it's a lot of money. And Kyrie is $8,400 here, and he's also $8,400 on DK. So I think he's viable. He's someone definitely you can play in either one of the two platforms. But let's discuss a little bit of Kyrie Irving here. I will have some exposure to some other people, as always. He is not the only one, but I think he's probably my main guy today that I really like here so far. So Kyrie Irving coming in, 22 points per game, almost 5 rebounds a game, 5.5 assists a game, averaging 40.8 fantasy points per game here on FanDuel. That's about 41 FanDuel points. 8,400 is his price tag. You need about 42. Very much capable of getting you 42 here tonight. And he is the same price, like I said, on DK, so you need 42 there as well. His home and away splits have been pretty darn good. Away, he's 47% field goal percentage, and he's shooting from 50. Well, actually, he's doing well on both. Let me be honest with you. He's doing well at home and away. Away, he's shooting 47%, while at home, he's actually shooting even better at 53%. But he is shooting better as far as the the three-point shots are. 43% shooting from three, and he's averaging 38.8 fantasy points per game on the road, which I absolutely like. He did play against his team last year, and he put up 48 spot. We know he has 60-point upside, and as you can see here, we'll go right to the fantasy cruncher. And as you can see, man, I mean, he is just, he's going to take tons of shots. He's going to be one of the main offensive weapons for Boston every single night. As you can see here, massively, look at the usage rate, pretty much at about 26, 27, maybe even 28% on average. His minutes are there. He's getting about, I would say close to 31, 32 minutes a game, maybe 33 minutes a game. Either or, 30 to 31 minutes, 32 minutes is more than enough minutes for that 8,400 price tag. And then look at the shots he's taking. He's taking about 16, 17 shots a game. There are some games that he's shooting a lot more from the floor. In this game here, he shot 26 shots from the floor and 6 from 3. Over here, 24 and 28 and 10 and 13 respectively. So we know he's going to get tons of usage. We know he's going to take tons of shots, and he's just got to bury those shots. And he's also capable of being very aggressive and getting to the foul line. As you can see, he's getting onto the foul line about 4 or 5 times a game. 4 or 5 shots a game from the free throw line. And he able to get some rebounds for you. And, of course, he'll pass the ball a little bit. And he has some pretty decent defense. He'll keep his feet moving and his hands, and he'll get some steals. He's had 7, 10, 11, 12, 15, about 18 steals over the course of the last 7 games, averaging about 2 or 3 steals a game. So that's pretty impressive for Kyrie Irving. And as you can see, he definitely has 60-point, even 70-point upside. So Mr. Irving, I definitely like here. He's going up against Charlotte. They're 10th right now at the moment in defending point guards. They're 18th in fantasy points allowed to point guards this year, so they're in the middle of the pack. They are allowing 33.6 fantasy points per game, and that's increased over the last 4 games. In the last game, they gave up 51 to Ben Simmons, and then they have also given up 59 to Westbrook this year and 29 to Mr. Reggie Jackson, and Trae Young has put up 31. That's about it. Those are the key guys right there. And Mr. Simmons, they have played 3 times, so I forgot to point that out. Their last game was just a couple of games ago, the game before this one, 51, and he's also put up 63 and 31 against these guys. So they have faced a couple of decent players in Simmons 3 times and Mr. Westbrook 1 time. But they also gave up, like I said, Trae Young 31 and Reggie Jackson 29. So, I mean, if his bottom number is going to be only about 30 or 36 fantasy points, I can live with that. But I really think that he has a great opportunity here to put up 40 or more, and then especially going up against Kemba Walker, who's a very competitive player, very scrappy. I could see him and Kemba having a battle to see who's going to outlast and who's going to outshoot who today. So hopefully it'll go in Kyrie Irving's favor for me. I'm going to have some exposure to Mr. Fox, not so much here on FanDuel. I do play on DraftKings DraftKings as well. He is definitely a fine play on DraftKings. Only 6,100 on DraftKings. So definitely, if you play DraftKings, he is definitely someone you must consider. De'Aaron Fox over here, 7,800, a little pricey. He is down 300 or 400 from his last game, so there is a little bit of a discount here on FanDuel, but his discount and his price tag on DK just really stands out. So he'll definitely be like someone I'm going to have more exposure to on DK. I do like also Mr. Jamal Murray. If you wanted to come down, I think Jamal Murray could be a fine play as well. So keep him in mind. 7,500 here. He's down. 7,000 here. He's also on a discount, and we know he has 50-point upside any given night. He's going up against Milwaukee, and Milwaukee's 26th in defense against point guards, 16th in fantasy points per game allowed to point guards, and allowing 30.3 fantasy points per game. So definitely in his wheelhouse, and we know he's capable. If he gets hot from 3 or from anywhere in the perimeter, he's going to get tons of shots as well. So definitely someone to consider there. He's 6,700 on DK if you wanted to go up, but I think Fox at 6,100 is a better play. If you're looking for value, in this area here, I'm looking at Mr. Reggie Jackson, to be honest with you. Right now at this moment, I kind of like Jackson at home against Cleveland. Cleveland does have some vulnerability against point guards. Jackson's coming in here nearly 16 points per game, 2.5 rebounds, 4 assists, 24 fantasy points per game at 5,600. You need about 27, and he's capable of getting you 27. He has been able to get you close to 30, almost 40. So we know he has 30 to 35 point, maybe as much as 40 point upside. Mr. Jackson, let's come over here and look at him a little bit further. Reggie Jackson. And as you can see, he's going up against Cleveland. And if you look at him overall, his minutes are there. He's getting more than enough minutes for the price tag, and he's also taking more than enough shots. He just got to bury a few more shots. 6 of 14 here, 6 of 15. Usage rate is 26% over the last few games. It's been as high as 28% and 27%. He's pretty much more at around 23, 24%. And he's taking about 13, 14 shots a game on average. So he's taking more than enough shots, and he's also shooting the 3 as well. About 4 or 5 threes per game over the course of the last 6 or 7 games. And of course, he can assist, and he has capabilities of getting a couple of steals here and there. Not the greatest defender, but again, the matchup is pretty good. Going up against Cleveland, 19th in defending point guards. Yeah, 19th in defending point guards. His home and away splits have been pretty good too, I forgot to mention. At home, he's shooting 39%. Well, not great, but I mean, if his shots go down, he's going to be good. His field goal percentage has been a little poor this year. But again, I like the matchup. 39% field goal percentage and 31% from 3. He's still averaging 30 fantasy points at home, so I definitely like that. Yeah, so looking at him, man, I really like this where he's at as far as the usage rates, the shots, the points going up against Cleveland. Like I said, they're 30th, 19th in defending point guards. They also are 20th, 21st in points given up to point guards thus far this year. They're giving up 28.9 fantasy points per game, so right in his wheelhouse as far as fantasy points. I think he can get you 30, maybe even 35. I think he's a pretty decent value play for me, at least at this moment. Again, hang in there, come into the Slack group later on, about an hour and a half before lock, and we'll discuss it a little bit more. But I definitely like him there. And if you're looking for value at point guard, as far as a budget play, I always try to give you guys some plays under 4,000. Obviously, Mr. Isaiah Cannon comes into play at 3,800. He gets more than enough minutes. Terry Rozier, the same. Tony Parker's another. I would say those are the top three right there: Cannon, Rozier, or Parker. Here against Philadelphia, obviously, if this game gets out of hand, possibly he'll see even more minutes, but as you can see, his minutes are there, So you want to get minutes at 3,800. You want at least 18 minutes or better, and you want to try to at least get 15 or 16 fantasy points or better, and he's capable of getting you in the mid-20s, and he's getting the minutes. So he's someone to consider here in a game like this, especially if the game gets out of hand. And you got Tony Parker as well. He has a tendency of coming in also when the games are close or when they're a little bit behind. He only played 15 minutes the last two games. A little concerned there, but he has been able to play 20 minutes, 23 minutes at times. And as we know, he's capable. Almost 40 spot here, pretty much a 40 spot here and a 31 here. So he has 30 to 35 point upside. Tony Parker as well, and Mr. Rozier the same. All right, let's go to shooting guard. At shooting guard today, I mean, man, you guys know I like these two guys up here at the top. I'm not looking to pay up for these guys. I think one of these guys is going to go off. I just don't know whom. I mean, New Orleans is at home, so you would figure you will go with Drew Holiday. But at 9,500, I'm going to come down. Oladipo, before doing this video, I heard Oladipo is out for today. So automatically, that triggered me to see where Donovan Mitchell is at. And to be honest with you, at 8,100 for Donovan Mitchell and 7,300 on DK, I think he's a fine play. He doesn't have to deal with Oladipo. Indiana has been pretty good against shooting guards thus far this year, but without no Oladipo, who's probably one of their better defenders, I can see Donovan freaking having an awesome game here, and he is starting to get cooking here. He's taking tons and tons of shots. He's another one of these players on their respective team that is a very, very important part of their offense, and he needs to touch the ball and to use and to shoot the ball and take a lot of shots. And he's going to need to do that here again today, and he's going to, I assure you, he will. Donovan Mitchell is very, very talented. His home, let's get to him here on the cruncher. And let's be Mr. Mitchell right here. As you can see, Indiana 7th in defending shooting guards. But again, no Oladipo. When there's no Oladipo, obviously that definitely is going to hurt. So I'm not even concerned with that. Oladipo being out definitely puts me in position to really like Donovan Mitchell even more. Last two games, 47 and 49 respective points. Look at the minutes. The minutes are there. He's playing more than 34 minutes in the last two games. He's probably averaging about 31, 32 per game. The usage rate is going to be through the roof, over 23% on average. He has had massive usage over the last two games, 33 and 47 respectively. And look at the shots. That's the reason why. 10 of 21, 13 of 35 from the floor. He took 11 shots from three, only buried one, and 5 of 12. I mean, if he's going to put up nearly 40 shots a game or better between threes and floor shots, that you gotta at least take a stab at him at this price. That is more than enough usage for me, to give him a shot in both platforms. So Donovan Mitchell in play for me, and he also brings a little bit of defense. Look at the steals, 7 steals over the last two games, 2 blocks as well. He's shooting massively, 28 and 31 points from the floor, literally almost more than 1.2, 1.3 fantasy points per minute. So he has been absolutely crazy. Indiana in the last 3 games have struggled, especially in the last game. Last game I put in Bazemore. I told you guys I threw in Bazemore at the last moment when I knew that Oladipo was having a knee issue and it was a game-time decision if he was going to play or not. He ended up playing, and he only played 5 or 6 minutes, and Mr. Bazemore, put up a great game for me, put me over the 300 mark. I've now been 3 days in a row over 300. Last night I got 326 as my best score, made some money in my GPPs. I finished actually in 800 and somewhat place, so I'm creeping up, getting closer. just a matter of time. Like I say, man, like my wife always tells me, your day always comes. Everybody's day always comes. Just got to keep grinding and keep plugging away. And I truly believe that. It's happened to me already a few times. Never won the really, really huge money, but I've been able to be fortunate enough this year, especially in the NBA, to at least cash in the thousands a few times. So I am very close. I'm getting closer by the day. The day before that, I was in 1,500 and something place in the main event. So I'm getting there. But again, Indiana, so I put in Bazemore at the last moment, got him in. I mean, I played him prior to 15 minutes before lock. I made the change. I said, let me give Bazemore a shot. I think he was a little bit, somebody I did mention in my video that I thought, could be someone to watch out for, and it panned out for me. So, again, Indiana now, without Oladipo, you definitely got to consider, Mr. Donovan Mitchell. And again, like I said, they're coming in. Indiana 7th in defending shooting guards, obviously with Mr. Oladipo, 19th in fantasy points per game allowed to shooting guards. They're allowing 34.2 fantasy points per game. They are up 7.5 fantasy points per game over the last 3 games, and that includes the last game. They gave up 58, almost a 59 spot to Mr. James Harden 3 games ago. The following game, Mr. Josh Richardson put up 36, and then Mr. Bazemore in the last game after 5 minutes of Oladipo leaving. Obviously, someone else came in to defend Mr. Bazemore, didn't have a good time handling him, and he put up 39 fantasy points. So I definitely love a lot of Mr. Donovan Mitchell here today in this matchup. So Donovan Mitchell is my guy here at shooting guard. And like I said, I will have some exposure to a couple other guys. I do like Lou Will here. I do also like Mr. Buddy Hield here at home in a paced-up game. And never sleep on Mr. Jeremy Lamb if Mr. Kemba Walker is neutralized. All right, Jeremy Lamb could be a possible good play. So we come down value here. Value play for me, man. I'm going to come down. Cleveland is going to have to keep this game close. I like David Nwaba. Mr. Nwaba has played the last 2 games, and then 2 games ago, he played so well that Coach Larry Drew did make a statement that he said he was going to keep him in the rotation as far as coming off the bench, and he's been playing minutes. 26 and 28 over the last 2 games. At $4,000, I love a whole lot of David Nwaba. You only need 20 there, and he's averaging 28, pretty much almost a 30 spot in the last 2 games. And the kid can score and he can defend. He brings a little bit of everything to the table. He just needs to be on the court. And we're already realizing that they're starting to really just start implementing him in the ball game and getting him more involved. And he is going to have, he's going to take every full advantage of it. All right. So I am loving him here as a value play. Let me get down to him where he's at. And where are you, David? Here you go, David. So as you can see, 27 and 29 minutes respectively. Usage rate is not extremely high. Now, this is a kid. He's only $4,000. This is a kid last year for Chicago, played massive minutes at times, and he came up and he played very well. 30, 29, 30, 40 spot here, 33 spot, 39 spot. I mean, he is capable. And then, of course, his price tag as high as, I think, $6,000 or so. Let's see, just to check. He was as high as $5,800. He's $4,000, man. He's $1,800 cheaper than his highest price he was last year. Okay, so I definitely like that as well. You got to always look at those things as well. And again, not a whole lot to go by from what he has done up to this point because he's only played just a handful of games, probably 4 games thus far. So it's a very small sample. But again, we know if you've been following the NBA, you got to see this kid play last year. So he's capable of filling up the stat sheet, could do a little bit of everything. I like him here at $4,000. He's only $3,500 on DraftKings, man. So you only need 15 there. And he's going to smash that. If he's getting 27, 29 minutes, I'm all over that on DraftKings as well. So David Nwaba is in play going up against Detroit. They're second in defending shooting guards thus far this year. As you can see here, they're 20th in fantasy points allowed to shooting guards thus far this year as well, and allowing 27.8 fantasy points per game. They did give up 27 to Jeremy Lamb, 45 to Mr. Evan Fournier, 47 to Josh Richardson, 40 to Karis LeVert, 30 and 27 to Mr. Jaylen Brown. So a couple of names there that I think this kid can do about the same. So I think he can get you 28 to 30. At this price, if he gets me 10, if he gets me 6X, if he gets me 30 to 35, 6, 7X, I'll love it for that price of $4,000, especially if he's going to get 27 to 29 minutes or even 30 minutes. So they slowly but surely getting him more involved. I think he is someone you guys must consider. If you're looking for a budget play at shooting guard, the only guys that I would think of, Mr. Monk stands out automatically right away, only $3,700. You pretty much need 15 from him. He's averaging 18. and his minutes are probably a little choppy. But, yeah, a little choppy. But he has, on the average, he's been in the 20-minute mark pretty much on average, other than this last game. We're not going to concern ourselves with that one. Let's look at more so the 4 or 5 previous. And as you can see, almost up to 6 games. He was playing 17 to as much as 23 minutes. And he's capable of getting you 1 fantasy point per minute. So he's someone to consider at 3,700. If you're not looking at him, Marco Bellinelli may be another possibility. 3,600, need 15. He's playing more than 15 minutes a game. He sure has. Last 3 games, 23 to as much as 25 minutes, and he has put more than 1 fantasy point per minute in, no, not necessarily, but he is getting you at least a 19-20, and you only need 15. So he's got the minutes, and he's getting you 19-20. Hey, he may be a nice little bargain play there, and then Mr. Malik Beasley for Denver could be another. All right, those are the 3 I'm looking at. Let's go to small forward. Small forward, man, you know, if I'm paying up for anybody tonight, I definitely love Giannis Antetokounmpo. I think Giannis is definitely the best play here. 11,500. You need about 57 from him. He's averaging 53. And, I mean, I don't know. I just look at Denver. Denver has been a better defensive team this year than they were last year. They're actually more of a slower-paced team, more of a half-court team. But this guy, I don't see who's going to defend this guy. I mean, I really don't. I really like the whole entire matchup. I don't see anybody they can put up. They can't put Millsap or Lyles. Nobody's going to be able to stop this guy. This guy is like unguardable, you know, to be totally honest with you. He's just so long, so quick. You know, it takes only 5-6 strides. He's already half court. I mean, he's just a freaking beast, man. Let's just put it that way. I'm not going to even sugarcoat it. But nonetheless here, man, numbers are great. Let's go right over to the Fantasy Cruncher. And Giannis, even though they're playing Denver, 5th against small forwards, I'm not even concerned because Denver has not faced anybody like Giannis. Nobody. He's been a little down in his numbers, but again, look, his floor, if his floor is going to be the last 3 games, 49-50, I don't mind taking 50 from Giannis if he has to give me 57. That's only 5 or 6, 7 fantasy points off his price tag. I'll be okay with that. But he has that 70-point, 80-point upside, and that's the one thing you really got to love here, especially when you see a matchup where you don't see anybody who can really stop him. So Giannis is in play for me. The numbers are there. It's not much to even say. He's averaging more than 32, 33 minutes a game. Look at the usage rate. We know he is the main offensive weapon for the Milwaukee Bucks. 27 to 28 pretty much on average is going to be his usage rate. Yeah, as a matter of fact, it's even higher. It's a lot of 30s and 39s here, so maybe more like 30, 31. And look at the shots. He's getting about 16, 17 shots per game pretty much on average. He's starting to take a couple of threes. I'm not going to, gauge him on that, but he's aggressive. He gets to the foul line 9 to 12 shots per game from the free throw line. We'll take that. He can rebound. He can assist the ball. And, of course, he brings the defense with him as well. A little bit crazy as of late with the turnovers. 13 turnovers, 16 turnovers over the last 4 games. If he cleans that up, man, that's even more fantasy points for us. So if he can minimize those, that would definitely be great. But he's going to get his steals. He makes up for the steals and the blocks. Look right here, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He has had 11 blocks in the last 4 or 5 games, and the steals about the same. So he's just one of the best, man. There's no doubt about it. Going up against Denver, as you can see, 5th in defending small forwards, 14th in fantasy points per game allowed, which is very, very good. It's just only allowing 22.9 fantasy points. So you round that off to about 23 fantasy points per game. But that is not going to be where they're going to hold this guy at. They haven't faced anyone like Giannis. They had guys like James Ennis put up 30. Jason Tatum put up 30. Justin Holiday put up 31. And then the rest of the guys they have played have been Wesley Johnson, Kyle Anderson, C.D. Osman, and Joe Harris of the Brooklyn Nets. They haven't really seen any elite small forwards thus far this year. No, none, not even one elite small forward. So, yeah, Mr. Giannis is going to have a field day here today. So I definitely love him. I'm paying up for a stud today is going to be Giannis Antetokounmpo. All right? Now, let's go now to possible value play. When I think of value plays, I'm going all the way down here. I like the matchup between San Antonio and New Orleans, and I like Mr. Rudy Gay. I like Rudy Gay as a value, 5,900 here on FanDuel. On DK, he's 5,300. You need 29 here and about 26 respectively on DraftKings. And the minutes are there. The minutes have been there. Let's go right over to Mr. Rudy Gay. Where are you, Rudy? There you go. And the minutes are there. Like I said, 25 to 30 minutes. I'm okay with that for 5,900 price tag. He's getting sufficient enough shots. We'd love to see a little bit more, but he's been averaging pretty much 10 to 12 shots over the last 4 games. Usage rate is good. He's taking some threes. He's been shooting fairly well from there. The beauty here also, his field goal percentage has been about 50%. He's shooting fairly well in the last 4 or 5 games. He's getting to the foul line a little bit, and of course he brings a little bit of defense. There goes the blocks, 3 here. And, he gets a couple of rebounds. He's not big on assists because they mostly are setting him up for his shots. But 39, 29 over the last few games. Like I said, you need pretty much 29, and it's very much attainable here. His home and away splits, not too bad. He did play against New Orleans a couple of games back. He didn't shoot fairly well there. As you can see, 27% usage rate, only 19 minutes. And he shot 3 of 12 and 0 of 2 from 3. So it was just not one of his nights at all. But I definitely believe he could bounce back from that. I'm not even concerned with that matchup there. And not only that, he did play against them last year and did get a 41 and a 26 in 2 respective games out of the 4 last year. So I am not concerned at all. Rudy Gay, I think, is definitely someone in my plans. His home and away splits have been pretty good. 57% field goal percentage on the road and 47% from 3. Shooting and getting in about 26.5 fantasy points per game. So I definitely like him. He has the upside to get you about 40. You're going up against New Orleans Pelicans. They're 18th in defense against small forwards, 18th in fantasy points per game allowed to small forwards thus far this year. They have allowed 30.9 fantasy points per game. That's about 31 fantasy points per game. They did give up in their last game to Juancho Hernan-Gomez, 35. They have given up 32 to Covington, 53 to George, 43 to Durant, and 32 to Justin Holiday. So if Justin Holiday could get 32, Covington 32, and Juancho Hernan-Gomez 35, I think that Mr. Gay is in position to get 35 or better. So I like Rudy Gay here today in that matchup. As far as budget, anybody cheap down here? I mean, another guy that I'm going to have exposure to, which I had exposure to, and we were going back and forth in the chat, was Tyreke Evans. And at the end of the night, I looked at his box score, and he did get shots off. He shot quite a bit in the game. He just did not hit his shots. So Tyreke Evans, no Oladipo today, folks. He is a viable option here for you guys for the Indiana Pacers. At $4,700 is not a bad price for a guy who is pretty much a 6,000, 6,500, maybe even a 7,000 value player during the course of his career when he has played well and has been a part of the offense. So he has an opportunity here again today to shoot a little bit better. I'm going to have a little exposure to him. So I think at $4,700, he's someone to consider. But if you're looking as far as really budget play, come down here. My favorite budget play would be Dante Cunningham, but of course Wilson Chandler is in play if he gets the minutes. Vince Carter could be a possible play, so consider him, and Mr. Bacon as well. So those are the 4 that I'm looking at. You could consider also Mr. Wesley Johnson. Finney Smith is another viable option, but he is at 4, and I try to give you guys a budget play of under 39. So I'm going to say more Dante Cunningham and maybe Chandler, Carter, or possibly Dwayne Bacon. So any one of those 4 will be some that I might be targeting, and if you want to discuss it a little bit more, we'll discuss it in the Slack chat group later on before lock. All right, let's go to power forward. At power forward today, man, you got AD at the top, man. Again, I'm going to bypass him. Just simply the price is pretty high. I know we know he could get 70 or more points. He's not had a pretty good career thus far playing against San Antonio, so I'm gonna just fade him here for now. And also the whole idea for me to do the channel is to give you options other than what may look obvious. Obviously, Anthony Davis is always a viable play against, but you always have to look at matchups as well. Do they match up well? He's had a history of not playing well against San Antonio, so I rather fade him for now, but it doesn't mean that I'm not squeeze him in there in one lineup. So for me, as far as my viewers, I want to give you what I think are probably the better plays and where you can get some savings at. So Blake Griffin, LaMarcus Aldridge, I don't like LaMarcus Aldridge. I played him last night or the night before, and he came up big for me. So he's back on my A-list. I am not playing him today. I'm going to come all the way down to Mr. Harrell. I just seem to always keep coming to this guy. It's the 3rd time I'm bringing him up. It's probably the 2nd time in the last 3 or 4 days. But Montrezl Harrell, I definitely like at 7,800, and he is so much more better priced on DK. 6,600 on DK, you only need 33 there, and here at 7,800, which I'm willing to play here as well, you need 38. And he is coming in, man, 14, almost 15 points a game, 6.5 rebounds, 1.5 assists, averaging 31.2, pretty much 31 fantasy points per game. His home and away splits have been pretty good. His numbers are good, 27 minutes or better pretty much over the last 4 games, which I'm okay with that. I really am. I'm okay with that. The minutes more so in the 23 to 24 minute range pretty much for him, but he, as of late, as you can see, 32, 31, 26, and 27. I think in a game like this, considering Atlanta is going to have Dwayne Dedmon back, John Collins is back, so they got a couple of rebounders up front. This is where I think that he's going to get a little bit more pumped up, because this guy is a competitor, and he loves banging, and he loves going up against good competition. So I really like the whole idea of him coming in here and dealing with Lynn and Mr. Dedmon. So 7, again, usage rate, not too bad over the last couple of games, pretty much in the 22-23% range, which is awesome. He's taken about 10, as much as 12, 13 shots per game over the last 4, and he brings all the other big attributes that he brings to the game. The rebounding, of course, he is capable of getting blocks and steals. He's had 6 blocks, 7 blocks, 8, 10, pretty much 10 blocks over the last 5 or 6 games. That's all added extra fantasy points, and that's what we want to get with anybody we put in any one of our lineups. He's going up against Atlanta. And another thing just to point out, he has been absolutely great at home in his home and away splits. He's been pretty much dead even in both areas. He's good at home. He's good on the road. He has 68% field goal percentage thus far on the road this year and 30 fantasy points per game on average. So he should do fairly well here. Atlanta 29th in defending power forwards thus far this year, as you can see there. They're 23rd in fantasy points per game allowed to power forwards. They are allowing 31.4 fantasy points per game, and that has increased over the last 3 or 4 games. They did give a 53 2 games ago to Paul Millsap, which, go figure. Every time I play Mr. Millsap, he gives me a dud. And the days that we don't play Mr. Millsap, he comes up and he puts up a big game. He gave up 33 to Jerebko, 34 to Kyle Kuzma, 37 to Blake Griffin is the only elite power forward they definitely held down. Marvin Williams put up 32 against them, and Sam Decker put up 38. Come on now. Sam Decker, 38. Jerebko, 33. I love myself Mr. Montrezl Harrell here today against this team. All right, so Montrezl Harrell is my stud power forward, and until he's declining in any kind of way, I'm going to continue to play him on majority of my lineups. Okay, we come down as far as value. Value here, Larry Nance is in a good spot, but, I'm not seeing a whole big value there. I'm coming all the way down to somebody that I played quite a bit last year for Memphis, and that's JaMychal Green, who's now finally playing. This guy's capable of getting you 40 or better, any given night. He is very, very good. He's also pretty good defensively, too. He's capable of getting blocks and steals. He played his first game. Now, granted, I don't like usually bringing out somebody just when they're coming back, but his first game back, 21 minutes, 8, 1, 2, and 1, 27 fantasy points. At 5K, you only need 25, and on DK, he is 4,100. You only need 20. 20 or better, it's definitely a shoo-in for him, the longest he gets 20 or more minutes. And I think his minutes are going to increase. Mr. Jaren Jackson, the rookie, is always in foul trouble, man. This guy is foul-prone. And if he's going to be committing fouls, it's going to be an advantage for Mr. JaMychal Green to get more time on the floor, more usage, and more opportunity to put up fantasy points for us and to put up more points for his team. So I like Mr. Green here at this price of $5,000 before his price tag goes up. This is a guy last year that was about 62 to 6,500 easily. 62 to 6,500. Let's take a look. Where are you? JaMychal Green. As you can see, if I scroll this down, look at that, 46 spot in 29, 20, 35 minutes, only 5,900. You see, he was as high as 65 and 63 at some points last year, 62. So I'm right about that, 40, 49. He's got 40-point upside. I remember I played him several times, and he came through for me. So I like him here over Mr. Jackson. Mr. Jackson's going to find himself that he's going to probably lose out on more time. The long as he continues to commit fouls and get himself into trouble, Mr. Green is going to be just right. So we don't got a whole lot to go by, but as you can see here in these last 2 games, look at the usage rate, 35 and 23.7, 24%. 2 of 8 and 3 of 9. Got to get better there, but he brings all the other things, the steals, the blocks. In those 2 games, he's had 3 steals and 2 blocks. Okay, so that's what? That's about 12 fantasy points additional. And then you got the rebounding, and he's capable of getting some steals. Don't get into foul trouble. That's all you got to do, man. If he stays out of foul trouble and let Mr. Jackson get into foul trouble, he's going to get more minutes on the floor. So I like him there. He's going up against Dallas. Their defense is first overall against power forwards thus far this year, but again, not a whole lot of people they have played. Not to say that Mr. Green is an elite power forward, because he's not, but 13th in fantasy points per game allowed to power forwards, allowing 24.7 fantasy points per game. So I like that they're giving up nearly 25, and we have this guy. We need him to just get over 25 or better, and I think he's capable of doing that. They did give up 23 to Jerebko, 21 and 34 respectively to Mr. Favors, 25 to Jabari Parker, and Mr. Kyle Kuzma and Rudy Gay have put the best numbers up. Kuzma 36.5, and Rudy Gay put up a 45. So I still think that Mr. Green is capable of putting up some nice numbers here. So Jermichael Green is in play for me. I think he's a nice little value play. We come down. And another guy that I might have some exposure to is Marcus Morris. We could talk about it more later, so I definitely like him there as well at that 4,500 spot. Then we come down here below 4,000 as far as a budget play at power forward. I mean, Spellman is in play for me, and I definitely Mr. Kleber is definitely someone to consider as well, and I think also Mr. Mike Scott. I think those are the three that I would be pointing out later on today, and that if I had any exposure to, those are probably the three I will be, narrowing it down to. All right, so those are the guys I like there. Let's go right over to center. In that center today, Joel Embiid, just plain savage, man. He's just a savage. We discuss this in the chat all the time, man. This guy is just a true beast. And, he's going up against the young rookie today. He's just going to eat this guy alive. I'm going to have some exposure to him if he's playing. We still have the, game time decision here on the hand. Even with a bad hand, he still played the other night and he still put up some nice numbers. So Joel Embiid is definitely someone in play. Obviously, Drummond is in a good spot too. 50 or better for this guy should not be a problem against Cleveland. I don't know if I want to pay 10,000 for him. I'd rather pay up all the way for Embiid, who can get me 60 or 70. But I'm going to come all the way down, and I'm going to recommend this guy for about the fourth time this year or the third time this year, and that's Marc Gasol. His price tag is starting to get up there. We got to take advantage because he's going to be definitely a 9,500 player very, very soon. Marc Gasol, I love the matchup here. Again, he is at home, and this guy is obviously probably one of the best, or maybe the best defensive center in the league, still at his age, being around as long as he has been. And he has been playing fantastic basketball. Look at this. The last 5-6 games, 35 minutes or better pretty much. I mean, he's been pretty much averaging 30-some-odd minutes over the last 10 games. And you look at it, 2 double-doubles in a row. He's had multiple double-doubles already. 16, almost 17 points per game, 9 rebounds, nearly 4 assists a game, 40 pretty much fantasy points per game, 8,700. You need 43 on DK. He's only 7,600. So you only need about 38. 38. His price is still darn good, man. 38. He's been in the green in the last few games, pretty close over here. Again, the usage rate, he is one of the key members of the team as far as offense is concerned. So the offense does revolve around him. He does get touches. He's going to get the basketball, especially in the paint, and he's also capable of hitting the three. Look at the shots. Look at the usage rate. 23% or better over the last few games. He's pretty much averaging about 23% usage rate. His shots, getting about maybe 13 to 14 per game from the floor, and he's taking about 5, maybe 6 threes per game over the last 4 or 5 games. Getting to the foul line as well. He shoots fairly well. He's not big. I think he's about 65-70% free throw shooter from the foul line, I think, more or less. I'll look at his home and away splits in a moment. Rebounding, 13-15. That's what he brings to the table. And then the defense. In the last game, he had 3 blocks and 2 steals. That is 15 fantasy points. I mean, 3 times 5 is 15. 15 fantasy points additional there in that last game that just made this number so huge. And this is what he can bring to the table. So I really love that. Going up against Dallas, 28th in defending centers thus far this year. They're 29th in fantasy points allowed. They're near the bottom in that category. So that's another reason why. Not only this, but also the fantasy point totals. 29th in the league. They're allowing 36.8 fantasy points per game to centers so far this year. They have played Rudy Gobert 3 times. Gobert has put up 57, 47, and 34 on them. Steven Adams put up 38. And Mitchell Robinson of the Knicks put up 41, which is just a rookie, young kid. Marc Gasol should do very well here. I can project him to have about 50 fantasy points here today. At that price tag, that will be very, very nice for Mr. Marc Gasol. Okay, as far as value at center, if you wanted to pay down, obviously, like I said, I like Embiid. I'm going to have some exposure to him. He's obviously priced higher than Gasol. Coming down here a little bit further down, I mean, the only one else that I like You could consider Tristan Thompson against Detroit against Andrew Drummond, who's not the greatest defender. You could put points up on him. But I'm going to come down to Dwayne Dedmon in this game against the Clippers, where they're going to need some rebounding, some defense with Mr. Harrell and Mr. Tobias Harris out there. And I think this is going to be a game where Dwayne Dedmon could get himself going again. He just came back, played 22 minutes in the last game, 12 points, 6 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 block, 20 fantasy points, 4,700. You pretty much need 23 on DK. He's 4K right on the nose, so you need 20. Very much attainable for him. Very much attainable for him. We're going to come and look at him here. And we look at Dedmon, 23 and 26 minutes the last 2 games, 16 to 17% usage rate, which is about right for him, as you can see. Pretty much around his ballpark. And then he's very, very efficient with the shots because everything is all down low. 4 of 5, 4 of 8. 1 of 2 from 3 and 1 of 3 from 3. Surprisingly taking some threes. He gets to the foul line as well. Hasn't missed a shot there in 2 games. Can get you the rebounds, and he also brings a little bit of defense, capable of getting blocks. He had 1 block in the last game, and he had about 5 or 6 or 7 over the course of 5 games prior to the 2 games ago. So very, very capable of putting us some nice numbers at 4,700. I think he is definitely a nice budget play going up against Los Angeles Clippers. They are 22nd, as you can see here, in defending centers, 27th in fantasy points per game given up to centers. They're just right there near the bottom of the pack, allowing 37.9 fantasy points, pretty much almost 38 fantasy points per game to centers thus far this year. In the last game, they gave to Jared Allen of the Nets 42 fantasy points. Prior to that, they gave 42 fantasy points to Brook Lopez. Come on, Dwayne Dedmon should be able to do well here. Okay, they gave a 55 to Mr. Towns, 68 to Embiid, to the top dogs. Steven Adams put up 44, and my boy Vucevic put up 47. So I don't expect him to put those kind of numbers, but in the Jared Allen, Brook Lopez, them both putting up 42 respectively against them, I can see Mr. Dedmon. I only need Mr. Dedmon to give me, about 25, 30, and I'll be more than happy if I was to go that route. But again, this is me giving you guys a little bit of advice. I think if you wanted to pay down and wanted to go cheaper at center, he may be a nice viable option at 4,700. I don't like going down below value really cheap on centers, So, unless somebody's out. So at this point in time, that is basically it. That's basically it, ladies and gentlemen. Again, man, the description down below of the video will have the new link for today's video where you can join our Slack group, and you can definitely get together there. We can interact and talk about the slate more so later. There also is an area that I normally announce if I'm going to go live or something. I did live for the first time on Saturday. It was a lot of fun, and I look to do it again very soon. I expect to do some live shows during the course of the week. It's just right now is a little bit crazy because my kids are in 2 after-school programs, and then, of course, getting involved in other, sporting activities as well. So it just consumes most of the week, and I won't be able to get something done before lock. But for the weekend, maybe Saturdays and Sundays, I'll do that for a little while until they're done, and then when the time is right, I will get more live NBA shows. All right, so that's basically it, ladies and gentlemen. Again, I appreciate you guys. Drop a like on the video. If you're new to the channel and you want to be a part of the DFS Zone community, the only thing you have to do is subscribe. Just subscribe down below. Make sure you put on that bell icon, turn it on. This way you don't miss out on any of my NBA or NFL lineup advice videos. And with that, I wish you guys a lot of luck, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.